Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam, and I am the Community Energy Coach, and our program supports communities, local governments, and industry stakeholders in the promotion of the CleanBC rebate programs and education of heat pumps. We're also joined today by my colleague, Elena, who will be presenting for you. This webinar, of course, is being recorded, and today is November 10th, 2021, and all rebate amounts discussed are reflective of what is available today. And for the most up-to-date information on rebates, please visit betterhomesbc.ca. We're also joined today by Alex Hart, the climate change analyst with the Regional District of Nanaimo, to present the RDN's Green Building Program, as well as Ilsa Sarity, who works as an environmental technologist for the CVRD, and she'll be joining us to speak about the CVRD's wood stove to heat pump program. I definitely encourage everyone to use the chat box throughout the webinar. I'll be monitoring and do my best to answer any questions along the way. And again, we will have a short Q&A at the end of the presentation as well. You'll be welcome to take yourselves off mute to ask those questions. And we will be sending a follow-up email to everyone who did register today with a copy of this recording, the slides, and the Q&A document. We would like to acknowledge with respect the Coast and Strait Salish and WSÁNEĆ peoples on whose traditional unceded territory we are presenting today, as well as the Lekwungen, Songhees, Esquimalt, and WSÁNEĆ whose historical relationships with the land continue to this day. And I'd also invite everyone to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional territory you're joining us on today. And with that, I'll pass things off to Alex with the RDN.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sam, for the introduction and the land acknowledgement. And thank you, everyone, today for taking the time to join us this afternoon. So this is our third webinar in our 2021 fall webinar series. And this series we developed is focused on connecting residents with some of the knowledge and available resources that they might need to be able to take some climate action at home, while also making those individual improvements to home comfort, energy efficiency and reduction, and overall home and property resilience. We are also partnering with the Cowichan Valley Regional District, as mentioned, to help increase the range of those that we can help and reach out to, and also achieve some of those shared goals that we have as neighboring districts. This fall series is also a part of our larger ongoing green building program. And this program has been helping connect residents to cleaner building methods and technology since 2012. We have supporting resources, including our sustainable site planning guides for both builders and homeowners, and rebate programs for electoral area residents. These rebates, they include items such as oil to heat pump exchanges, home energy assessments, electric vehicle home charging stations, and renewable energy projects. These rebates are stackable with other provincial and federal rebates as well. We also run a wood stove exchange program for all RDN residents to help reduce overall air pollution emissions within the region. And more information about both of these programs is available on our website. These programs are also partnered with both our Water Smart and Fire Smart programs, again, which some of you may already be aware of, but information is also available just by following those links at the bottom left corner of this screen there, again, just on our main RDN website. So again, today is part of our fall webinar series, and we have a few more upcoming webinars this month just on the screen here with a focus on home renovation and design projects. So, and the available rebates for those as well, sorry. So as always, more information is available on our website and by following the link on screen there, which I'll also provide in the chat. I understand that it's a little bit difficult to see on the screen. I apologize for that, but I will provide in the chat below. From there, you'll be able to access our free registration for the final two events and also more information. We have synopsis and descriptions of these if they're of interest to you or any friends or family members as well, all available on our website. So with that, I'm now going to pass it on to Elsa to share some more context within the CVRD. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Elsa. I hope you all enjoyed today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Alex. So I'm just going to take a really brief moment to talk about our wood stove to heat pump rebate program and why it really matters in the Cowichan Valley Regional District. Next slide, please. So, and you can click again. So in the Cowichan Valley, we live in a valley. It's low-lying land and we're surrounded by mountains. And this is why it's really extra important for us to think about how we heat our homes. Next slide. In the winter time, we often get something called poor venting and weather inversions. And it is when the ground winds are very still and they're not mixing with the air layers above. And what you see in this picture is a weather inversion, example of a weather inversion where cold air that contain air pollutants from backyard burns and wood stoves get trapped near the ground and negatively impacting people that live there. So it's trapped under a layer of warm air. Next slide. And a weather inversion is a little bit like putting a lid on the soup bowl. You saw it briefly, there you go. So yeah, just imagining that warm layer of air trapping the air pollutants near the ground near we live. Next slide. So the other component that's unique to the Cowichan Valley Region District is that there are still many residents that rely on wood stoves as their primary way to heat their home. And many of these wood stoves are unfortunately old and inefficient, using a lot more wood than the new 2020 EPA certified stoves, and they create a lot more smoke. So they use more wood and they create more smoke. So when you combine these factors, Cowichan's unique topography, again, imagine that soup bowl, and the weather, so imagine the lid on our soup bowl, and then the fact that we have a lot of air source pollutants like wood stoves and backyard burns, the result is poor air quality. I'm going to give a quick example of that. Next slide, please. And again, so here we have some data from Island Health of the Cowichan Valley. Cowichan Valley, this is hospitalization rates for children on the ages 0 to 14 years old. And you can see our pink line there is the cases of respiratory diseases in the Cowichan Valley compared to the dark blue line, which is Island Health. And then the teal line is BC average. So we have a lot more issues with air quality related illnesses. To the next slide, please. So the good news is that we are offering incentives to our residents to upgrade their smoky old wood stoves for a cleaner home heating alternative. So if you apply for a wood stove to heat pump rebate, you can receive up to $2,000 in rebate money, and more information is available on our website, cvrd.bc.ca/wood stove. And you can contact me or anyone at the CVRD if you have any questions. Next slide, I think our contact info. Okay, sorry. I can put my contact information in the chat. So over to you, Elena. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ilse. Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Elena, and I'm very excited to tell you a lot more about heat pumps today. We have quite an agenda for a short amount of time, so we'll get started with talking about what a heat pump is, explaining in simple words what kinds of heat pumps are most commonly used on Vancouver Island or in BC, and why we get excited about heat pumps. We want to share tips with you for things you should know before you buy a heat pump and things you should know once you have a heat pump. And of course, we will be getting into all the rebates that are currently available. For those of you who have joined after Sam gave her a little introduction, all the rebates that we're discussing are available as of today, November 10th, 2021. Rebates come and go, so I will share the CleanBC Better Homes program and Energy Coach service for when you are getting a heat pump installed and where you can find information. Also, for those of you who have joined a little bit later than noon, there will be a recording and the slide deck available after the presentation. And if you have any questions, ask them in the chat, and we'll also have some time in the end to answer questions. Okay, let's get started. So before I get started with explaining how a heat pump works, I want to explain a principle that is equally important, and that is the house as a system approach. And the house as a system approach is basically a building science concept that explains that your home is made out of different components that all affect each other. So that is your building envelope, your mechanical systems, your ventilation. And it is just very important to understand before we get started that if you are replacing your heating system, it's important to take a good look at your building envelope, your insulation levels, the air tightness of your home, the windows and doors, because you could be installing the best heat pump in the world. If your home is poorly insulated and leaky, you will lose a lot of that heat just to the exterior, which is wasting a lot of energy and money. That's why we always recommend getting started, getting a renovation project started with an EnerGuide home evaluation. So that is an unbiased energy assessment of your home where an energy advisor can tell you what exactly you should prioritize in what order. And we will talk a little bit more about that later as well. But we're all here to learn about heat pumps. So what is a heat pump? Basically, a heat pump is an electric heating system that is not only a heating system, it's actually an air conditioning system in one. And heat pumps are the most energy efficient heating and cooling system that you can possibly get. They are 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as your most efficient natural gas furnace or electric baseboards or electric furnaces. Also in BC, we're very fortunate that our electricity comes from hydroelectricity. So it's considered almost carbon neutral here in BC, which makes a heat pump the most climate friendly option that you can choose for your home. And actually, I think all of you have a type of heat pump at home because your refrigerator is actually just an insulated box with a type of heat pump in it. Because in the refrigerator that you see here in this picture, you see that there's refrigerant lines running through it, which gives it the name. And there's also a compressor located in your refrigerator. So what it does is this refrigerant in here absorbs heat energy, even at very low temperatures, absorbs it, and then it is pumped through a compressor where the heat energy is pumped up to a higher temperature level to then release it to the exterior of your fridge. So we all try to avoid it looking what's behind of our fridge, but if you ever do and clean up back there, you will notice that there's warm air coming out. And that's basically how a heat pump would work as well. So I'll show you that here. In this picture, we have a type of a heat pump. It's called a central system heat pump. And what you can see is the inside of a house and the outside of a house. So a heat pump always comes with two main components. That's the outdoor unit and the indoor unit. In this case, let's talk about the heat pump in the heating mode. So in this outdoor unit, we got the refrigerant lines in there, just like in your refrigerator, and there's the compressor in there as well. So now, even if it's a very cold winter day, there's still a lot of heat energy left in the ambient air, and that refrigerant can absorb heat energy at very low temperatures still. It absorbs that heat energy and the compressor pumps it up to a higher temperature level and transports it to the inside of your house, where in this case, there's a big air handler like for a furnace that distributes the hot air through ductwork throughout the house. So that's pretty awesome. So instead of burning a fuel or creating heat from scratch, basically, it uses heat that's already available in the ambient air and just pumps it up to a higher temperature level. Now, let's reverse the cycle. Let's say it's a hot, humid summer day and the interior of your house is very warm. In this case, you can just go to your control panel here, your thermostat, and put the heat pump in cooling mode. So now the refrigerant that is in this indoor unit here will absorb heat energy from your home, just like your fridge would do, and transfer it to the outside unit, the outdoor unit, pump it up to a higher temperature level and release it to the exterior of your home. And that is how the heat pump would then cool your home in the summer, simply by reversing the cycle. So what you see here is just a different type of heat pump in the heating mode. So you see that the heat pump here is absorbing heat energy here with the refrigerator and pumps it up to the inside of the home. In this case, we got a ductless heat pump that has an indoor head mounted on the top of the wall inside to distribute zonal heating, and you can reverse that cycle to absorb heat from the inside of the house and move it to the outside. We kind of just started talking about it, but I do want to introduce those two main popular types of heat pumps. The first one is the central system that we just saw. So a central system just means that it has an air handler that connects ductwork through your whole home. So it's a central heating system, very suitable for homes that already have a furnace and ductwork installed. In reality, the outdoor unit looks something like this. You've probably seen it in some yards before. And we have the ductless heat pump. So the ductless heat pump, as the name says, doesn't use ductwork. It has a smaller outdoor unit, and then it is connected to the inside of your home with refrigerant lines. And usually there's indoor heads that are mounted on the top of your wall to provide zonal heating. So the the ductless heat pump comes with multiple names. So you might have heard the name mini split. Mini split often just means that it's one indoor head that's installed. We also often hear multi-split, which means that there's multiple indoor heads installed in different areas of your home. Sometimes they're just called split system. And among the ductless heat pumps, there are actually ducted mini splits. So you could have a customizable combination of maybe an indoor head in the main open concept part of your home, living room, dining room, kitchen situation, and then mini duct installed in the attic or in the crawl space to connect to the odd bedroom. So there's multiple options are possible, and that's definitely something to discuss with a contractor. To compare those two popular types of heat pumps, both ductless and central system heat pump provide heating and cooling. Only the ductless heat pump provides zonal heating, which just means that you can heat a certain part of the home to a different temperature level than another part of the home. That's not possible with a central system with ductwork throughout. And then of course, only the central system requires ductwork in your home. Both heat pumps actually do provide very effective air filtration and dehumidification. We'll get into detail about that later. And generally speaking, of course, a central system heat pump is a great option for a home that already has pre-existing ductwork, like an electric or a gas furnace. But ductless heat pumps are often a great option for smaller homes and homes that have an open concept layout, like dining room, kitchen, living room are connected. Also, it's really ideal for homes that only have electric baseboards or electric baseboards and wood, where installing ductwork throughout the house would be very costly. So mini splits are a great option for that home. So there's different options here, and that's definitely something that you can discuss with your contractor, what makes most sense for your specific home. We're going to talk about heat pump and cost. So I just want to say that talking about heat pump and installation cost is not an easy topic. because it is one of those annoying "it depends" answers, but it's true. The cost of a heat pump installation depends on many, many different factors. That is the size and layout of your home, your current heating infrastructure, your homeowner or occupancy needs, and your location on the island or in BC, wherever you are. And what we got here is the data from an older rebate program. It was called the oil to heat pump program, where folks would switch from oil heating to a heat pump and got a rebate for that. And we had some data about the installation costs. The thing is that the range of that installation cost is extremely broad. We saw heat pumps that were about $4,000 or $5,000, and then there were heat pumps that were well over $20,000. So you see that it's really, really hard to give people a ballpark number. So please take that into consideration when you see those numbers. Because what we display here is the higher end of the average cost range of a heat pump. So, and that's really just the average. Your heat pump could be a lot less or a lot more. But what we want to show here is that at the moment, rebates are absolutely amazing. We will get into great detail about that later, especially when you switch away from a fossil fuel. And after rebates, heat pump installation is very, very comparable to a gas furnace. Okay, so I touched on a few of the things, but I want to share why we do get so excited about heat pumps and why province-wide, heat pumps are everywhere now. To summarize it, heat pumps do provide year-round comfort, not only heating in the winter, but also cooling in the summer. They provide a much more climate-friendly home. It is the most climate-friendly way you could possibly heat your home here in BC. And among the electric climate-friendly heating systems, it's by far the most cost-efficient heating and cooling system available because it uses a lot less electricity than electric baseboards or a furnace. With the air filtration and dehumidification, it gets you a much more healthy home. And of course, moving away from a fossil fuel, you don't pay carbon tax on your energy bills anymore. But let's look at that in a little bit more detail. So the efficiency first. A lot of people ask, well, how can a heat pump be 300 to 400% efficient? And I just want to explain the difference again between a heat pump and a standard heating system. Because a fossil fuel heating system like oil or gas or propane would burn a fuel to turn that energy in the fuel into heat energy. There's always some energy lost on the way. So none of those heating systems are 100% efficient. With electricity, you use 100% of the electricity that you pay for to turn it into heat energy. So electric baseboards are actually 100% efficient, which is great. But what makes the heat pump so much more efficient is that instead of using all the electricity that you pay for to turn it into the same amount of heat energy, the heat pump uses heat energy that's already available in the ambient air and only uses extra electricity that you pay for to pump it up to a higher temperature level. So you use a lot less electricity than for any other electric heating system to get the same heat output. And that's what makes the heat pump such a unique and genius heating system. Yeah, that's goes hand in hand with the efficiency that heat pumps are the most cost-effective way to heat electrically. So use a lot less than electric baseboards, for example. And of course, one big aspect why we get so excited about heat pumps is because we're all in a climate crisis. We're all trying to battle climate change here. And we have a little, a picture here from a publication from the Capital Regional District, where the same type of home was modeled with 3 different heating systems, once with an oil furnace, then a gas furnace, and then a heat pump. So this is the same type of home. And I mean, it's really not a secret that heating with oil is probably not great for the climate. I don't think I'm shocking anyone there, but even compared to, oil, natural gas still has very significant greenhouse gas emissions. And then explained earlier that with using hydroelectricity in BC and being so efficient, a heat pump is the most climate friendly way to heat a home. And just by doing that, you can cut the greenhouse gas emissions of your personal home significantly. So that is also why, there are so many heat pump rebates out there at the moment. I mentioned it earlier real quick, but did you actually know that heat pumps do provide air filtration and humidity control that helps rid your home of any indoor air pollutants, dust, pollen, allergens? So if you have any family or household members who suffer from allergies, heat pumps provide that great air filtration. And quite frankly, unfortunately, every summer now, we all suffer from all these forest fires. And having a heat pump at home, you can filter your air by cooling your home. And that is a really, really great all-in-one system. Also, I'll share more about that when we talk about the operating tips, but heat pumps are really easy to use and very low maintenance. So heat pumps use the set it and forget it system or principle. Basically, you want to set your heat pump to your preferred comfort level and you just leave it at that. I'll get into detail about that, but they are very simple to use once you know a few tricks. This here is only true for ductless heat pumps, of course, mini splits, and they provide zonal heating. So you have the option if you're in a home that doesn't have any pre-existing ductwork, or you have a home that has a rental suite or a basement suite, and you want to be able to heat the main part of the home to a different temperature level than the suite, or any other part of the home like an office or a bedroom, then having zonal heating is a really, really great option. Also, quite frankly, heat pumps are simply just the heating system of the future. We got this couple here. They are from Saanich down here in the Greater Victoria region. And for them, it was really important that they make their home ready for the future. So they installed solar panels, they bought an electric vehicle, but for them, it was also very important to have a climate-friendly and efficient heating and cooling system. So I believe they switched away from oil. And yeah, by that, you just get your home ready for the future because that is the heating system that will be used in the future. Also, I think there are quite a few here, especially, in the RDN and CVRD who are heating with wood. And there are some folks who start getting tired of heating and relying on wood heating. So if you switch to, for example, a mini split like this gentleman did here in Saanich, he decided to install a mini split heat pump with an indoor head mounted on the wall. You can have that heating system and a wood backup and enjoy your wood heating for ambience, basically. All right, I really hope that I convinced you that heat pumps are a great idea, but once you've made a decision to look into that, I do want to share some tips with you of things you should know before you buy a heat pump. First and foremost, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to make a really good decision in terms of the heat pump installer. Buy your heat pump through a qualified installer who specializes in heat pumps and avoid buying it wholesale or online. We always recommend to get multiple quotes from different installers to compare prices, the type of heat pump they want to put in, just to get different opinions. And for installers or for contractors, it is worth it to, do your research and do your homework, reach out to a lot of them and ask many questions. So for instance, Do you specialize in heat pumps? Do you provide free site visits or, quotes? And are you knowledgeable about the rebate programs out there right now? Can you look up whether my heat pump qualifies for the rebates, and so on? So on the website that we're going to share with you later, I will actually, there's a lot of tips for hiring contractors and questions to ask. Then, of course, another tip is what I said in the very beginning, the house as a system principle. So before you get any heating system installed, not just the heat pump, you really want to address air leakage in the home and insulation issues, because if you don't address that, then your new heating system will just work really hard, but lose a lot of the heat through the building envelope, which consequently you will pay for that on your energy bill as well. And lastly, of course, make sure that your heat pump is properly sized for your home, for your needs, designed for your climate. Heat pumps are ideally suited for the climate of Vancouver Island. And if you require that, that include a supplementary heating system like a wood stove, for example, if you experience a lot of power outages. All right, once you have bought a heat pump, there's definitely a few things you need to know about operating it correctly, because heat pumps, since they are a different type of heating system, there's also a few things that you should consider. The first operation tip is the set it and forget it principle. So especially if you're used to a natural gas furnace or a propane furnace or something like that, the way that works is it basically burns a fuel and then transfers that heat to, throughout the ductwork. But a heat pump will take a lot longer to kind of get rolling, because that heat pump has to absorb the heat energy from the ambient air, pump it up to a higher temperature level. So it takes a while till it gets to a certain level, but then it runs super efficiently and very continuously. So a lot of people think they're doing everything right by turning their heat pump off whenever they leave the house or go to bed or whatever. But what a lot of people don't consider is that it is much more efficient if you set your heat pump to your preferred temperature level and you leave it at that. You can still turn it up and down by a few degrees, but since the heat pump takes a while to get running, it is much more efficient if you just have it running at a certain level. And the second operation tip is very similar. That is especially for those of you who have been heating with a fossil fuel beforehand, because you will probably be used to intermittent blasts of hot air in your home. So that means, if fuel is burned and your furnace kicks on and you get this hot blast of hot air, then it turns off again. And, those intermittent blasts of hot air. The heat pump, since it runs so much more continuously, the air that's coming out of your vents will, in comparison, feel a little bit cooler than those hot blasts. So for those who have a hard time adjusting to that, it's often good to set your thermostat to a little bit higher than what you're used to. And obviously that does not mean that a heat pump can't heat your home to 21, 22 degrees, whatever your comfort level is. It totally can. It just means that it doesn't have those hot blasts of air. When you have a heat pump installed, it is fairly low maintenance. So in the beginning, we just recommend checking the manufacturer's manual, even though nobody likes to read manuals. It is worth it to take a look at it in the beginning. And then, of course, regularly clean the indoor filters of dust and pollen, and especially after forest fires season, it's definitely recommended to clean those filters. And then for mini split heat pumps, you want to change that battery in the remote control that you control the heat pump with. Every spring and every fall, you want to clear the outer unit of any debris, leaves, snow, dirt. Just making sure that nothing gets in there, and especially now in the winter, or a fall, those storms, there can be a lot of stuff blowing around. And then once a year, you do want to schedule a servicing appointment with your installer. That's another great question to ask your contractors, because they do want to make sure that your heat pump is, you know, the refrigerant is running and everything's fine with the heat pump. Yeah, what you can expect. Not going to go into detail because there's not going to be any more intermittent blasts of hot air if you have gas or oil beforehand. Of course, in any case, you will be expecting changes to your hydro bill. So when you're switching away from a fossil fuel, then your electricity bill, now that you're heating with electricity, will increase. Also in the summer, if you use a cooling option and you didn't have a cooling option before, obviously your electricity bill will increase. However, that is offset by a decrease in your fossil fuel consumption. And then, of course, if you switch from an electric heating system to a heat pump, you will likely see a decrease in your hydro bill because a heat pump uses a lot less electricity. A lot of people are very concerned about heat pumps and noise. It is definitely no secret that heat pumps do make some noise. However, I think a lot of people think of the first generation of heat pumps that are a lot more noisy than the modern systems. So heat pumps all come with a sound rating, a decibel rating. If noise is a concern for you, ask your contractor about the decibel rating. Also, municipalities do have bylaws, so you can just put a heat pump wherever you want in your yard, and contractors are aware of those bylaws. Also, the city of Vancouver has a really great heat pumps and noise myth-busting FAQ pamphlet, I guess, which will be shared with you. It's really great, and you learn a lot about tips and tricks to avoid noise if that is a concern for you. All right, so before we jump into the rebates, I'm going to take a big sip of water because we're in for a treat. Okay, so we're going to get into the rebates. And again, I do want to state that the rebates we're discussing are available as of today, November 10th, 2021. And rebates come and go. So if you're planning to get a heat pump installed in a few months or next year sometime, then definitely use those resources I'm about to share with you. Also, we do have a limited amount of time, and I could probably talk about heat pumps rebates till tonight, but nobody can stick around for that. So all the information I'm sharing is probably a little bit overwhelming now, but don't worry about it. I will share those resources where you can talk to an energy coach about your specific situation and get the rebates and all the requirements for your situation. Just as a little disclaimer. First of all, this is the resource I do want to share with you. It's the CleanBC Better Homes program. That's betterhomesbc.ca. And the CleanBC Better Homes program is a government-funded information hub for British Columbians to learn more about how to get started with renovations, where to find an energy advisor, where to find a contractor, tips for hiring a contractor, and of course, all the different rebates that are available for British Columbians to do any energy efficiency upgrades. This website is a one-stop shop, so it is a main information hub and it's completely unbiased. Also, the Better Homes BC website comes with an energy coach service, and I can't emphasize enough how much I recommend calling the energy coaches if you do get stuck along the way, if you want to know how to get started, or if you find this rebate information pretty confusing. It's a great team of people who really know their stuff about all the rebates. It's a toll-free phone number, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 here on the screen, and you can also email them. On the CleanBC Better Homes website, there is a rebate search tool. Highly recommend using that. So you just have to type in that or select that you're renovating a home, where in BC you're located, and what your current primary heating system is. And then it will give you a long list of all kinds of rebates that you could access. So for instance, the central system heat pump rebate. When you click on that, you get to a summary page of that rebate that really includes everything you need to know. Heat pump requirements, eligibility requirements, deadlines, application steps, and so on. And of course, if you're ever confused about that information or would like to talk about that, the energy coaches are there for exactly that. Oh yeah, so what we're going to get into now is two major rebate programs that are available at the moment for heat pump installation. One is a provincial program and one is a federal program. So I will start with the provincial program first and then the federal one. And the provincial program is called the CleanBC Better Homes Rebates. And in order to be eligible for this provincial program, you must live in a single family or a side-by-side home or a duplex mobile home on a permanent foundation. It basically means you can't live in an apartment building or a condo building. Also, the amount of money you can expect for a heat pump depends on how you heat your home currently. Or in the next few slides, I will show you all the different amounts. And in order to be eligible, your heat pump has to become the primary heating system of your home. So you can't just install a heat pump for air conditioning and get that rebate. And also, not any heat pump that you install would qualify. They do have to meet certain efficiency requirements. So they have to be on a qualifying product list. So just keep that in mind. So over the next few slides, I will share the different rebate amounts for different types of heating systems. Again, a lot of information. So if you want to discuss your situation, definitely call an energy coach. And we're going to get started with those of you who heat your home with electricity. That rebate comes from BC Hydro. And for a mini split with one or multiple indoor heads, you can get a $1,000 rebate currently. And for a central system heat pump with ductwork throughout the house, it's $2,000. Since that rebate is coming from BC Hydro, they have an eligibility tool that you have to use first to see if you qualify for the rebate. That is something you have to do at the very beginning. And you only need your BC Hydro account number and your home square footage for this tool. So you can find it under bchydro.com/hero/eligibility. And you can, of course, also find it on those heat pump summary pages in the rebate search tool as well. So for those of you who heat with wood, it's actually the exact same rebate amounts, $1,000 for mini splits and with one or multiple indoor heads and $2,000 for central systems. If you find yourself in a situation where you have wood and electric heating and you're not sure which one applies to you, just use that tool, that eligibility tool that BC Hydro has. And if you fail the tool, you're considered wood heated. If you, if you meet the tool's requirements, then it means that your home is electrically heated. And what I'm going to talk about now is all the homes that are heated with oil, natural gas, or propane, because there's amazing rebates out there switching away from a fossil fuel to a heat pump. Because BC Hydro announced on September 28th this year, so not too long ago, their new electrification plan. So folks who switch away from a fossil fuel, they get an automatic $3,000 top up to the normal rebate, which is also $3,000 when they switch to an all-electric heat pump. That is the case for all heat pumps that are invoiced on or after September 28th, 2021. And what you see here is the rebate amount for folks who switch from oil, gas, or propane to a heat pump. That includes that automatic top-up, so it's $6,000 regardless of whether you install a mini split heat pump or a central system heat pump. And there's also a few different types of heat pumps, so not going to go into too much detail, but you see here a dual fuel heat pump. That means it's just a central system heat pump, but it uses fossil fuel as a backup heating system, which in our climate here on the island is not a requirement. The rebate is lower, it's $3,000. And there's also heat pumps for homes that have a hydronic heating infrastructure like in-floor heating or radiators. So there's a $3,000 rebate for that. And homes that switch from oil, gas, or propane to a new electric heating system sometimes have to upgrade their electric service. So if that is the case for you, where you have to upgrade to 100, 200, or 400 amp service, then you could qualify for a $500 rebate towards that. And that's really only the case if you're switching from a fossil fuel. As an alternative to the rebates, and rebate really just means I pay up front, then I submit my application, I get reimbursed. There is an alternative to that if you prefer low interest financing, because for those who do switch from oil, propane, or gas, you can get a loan between $1,000 and $40,000 and get 0% financing over 5 years. You can do the loan or the rebate, but not both. And for this loan, you have to work with a special contractor. They're called finance registered contractors. So you can't just work with whatever contractor. On the CleanBC Better Homes website, there is that finance registered contractor list. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out for your area. And again, just as a reminder, this is not available for folks who switch from an electric heating system or from wood. And finally, provincially, there's also this really great extra rebate program, which is called the group purchase rebate. And the group purchase rebate is also only available for fuel switching from fossil fuel to a heat pump. You can get together as a group, so that could be you and your neighbors, or I don't know, community group, a municipality. Some contractors have started a group, and if everyone registers and signs up under the same group and installs a heat pump around the same time within the same 3 months, then each member of the group, depending on the size, gets an extra top up to their normal rebate. So let's say you get a group of 12 people together and you all sign up and install and apply for the heat pump around the same time, then you can all get $350 on top. For this program here, you have to register first. So definitely check that out on the Better Homes website. And the energy coaches can also help you understand this group purchase rebate better. I mean, great rebates, but you're probably wondering where you can find a contractor. So on that website, there is a contractor search tool on the Better Homes website, and you can access that contractor search tool by clicking on the menu button on the top right-hand corner. And there's an item called Find a Contractor. And you don't have to work with one of those contractors. They just went through some additional training in terms of, best practice installation and things like that. So you can choose to work with one of those contractors, but you don't have to in order to get the rebate. But that's a great place to start. And that was it in terms of the provincial rebate program. So now I'm going to jump over to the federal program, because there is also a federal rebate program called Canada Greener Homes. It launched this year in May, and it is completely separate to the provincial rebates. So what Canada Greener Homes offers is up to $5,000 towards all kinds of energy efficiency upgrades. That could be a heat pump, insulation, windows, all kinds of things, up to $5,000. And because having an Energat home evaluation before and after doing renovations is a requirement for this program, the program gives you $600 back after completing both evaluations. And that brings me to a big difference between the provincial and the federal program, is that for the federal program, you have to book an energy evaluation beforehand, before you do anything, and register for this program. And then you do renovations and get your post-retrofit evaluation after. Also, for this federal program, your home must be a primary residence, and you as the homeowner have to live in the home. So it's not applicable to renters or rental homes. The great news is you can stack those grants from this program with all the CleanBC rebates for up to 100% of the cost. That's a lot of information, which I'm aware of. So where to get started if you want to maximize your rebates for heat pumps, for example? Because the federal program requires you to get that Energat home evaluation, it's best practice to start with that, especially because it is an unbiased evaluation. And you can find energy advisors on that Better Homes website, either under the menu button or betterhomesbc.ca/EA. And then you do have to register for the Canada Greener Homes Grant. You find all these programs in the rebate search tool on the Better Homes website. And of course, an energy coach can help you get started and navigating all these programs as well. What you do really need to understand is that both programs are completely separate. They come with their own set of program requirements. So it's very important to review them before you get anything installed. And it is also important to understand the deadlines. So for Canada Greener Homes, they currently actually don't have any deadlines. But for all the provincial CleanBC rebates, you always have to apply within 6 months of whatever you installed the invoice date. So you apply as you go along. And for Canada Greener Homes, you apply at the very end. All right, that brings me to an end with the rebates. And here are some really important contacts for you, because this is a lot of information in a short amount of time. So I highly recommend contacting a CleanBC-Energy coach. They are unbiased and they're very well trained. So that is a toll-free hotline that you can call Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. You can also email them, ask for information for your specific situation. For the federal program, they have their own helpline, and they also have the world's longest email address that you can email. And for all the provincial programs that are, they're all administered by BC Hydro and Fortis, so they have their own contact information as well. I will leave this slide open in a second. Oh, of course, there's also all the RDN and CVRD contacts. So here we have them. For the regional district of Nanaimo, if you have any questions about the wood stove rebate program, there's the information. There's also the links to the 2021 fall webinar series. And for the Cowichan Valley, there's also the contact information for the wood stove replacement program and for ILSA. That brings me to the end, and I would really, really like to thank you for your attention and for your curiosity. I really hope that you know more about heat pumps than you did this morning. And with that, I would pass it on to Sam if there are any questions.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I was busy answering quite a few questions in the chat during the webinar. What I'm going to do now is actually stop the recording.